up, fam? Welcome back to All Things Up. This is going to be my Logan spoiler-free review, at least for the first half, and in the second half I will get into a bit of spoilers, but ultimately I will give you my review rating before we go. First off, this movie is absolutely rated R, so if you have kids and you think it might be cute to take them to go watch this movie, you may want to think twice, mainly because there's a lot of limbs flying around in this movie. A lot of limbs. And that's not a bad thing. It's actually pretty awesome, but it's the reason that it's rated R. There's also a lot of F-bombs, a lot of cuss words flying around, and that's fine because the movie is rated R, so what can you expect? But if you are thinking about taking your kids, I would caution you just because, you know what, when I was a kid, I had two movies growing up. I had The Land Before Time, which is super rated G, and I had RoboCop, which is super rated R. And even to this day, I still get flashbacks of old boy's hand getting blown off, right? So think about that before you take your kids. Getting into this movie, one of the best things about it is just seeing Old Man Logan and Old Man Charles Xavier. Their relationship is so crazy because we've seen them for years. I mean, they started back with the original X-Men back in 1999 when they started putting everything back together, and you have Hugh Jackman, who's this singing, Tony-winning performer, stage performer, before he started doing any hardcore movies. So nobody thought this guy would ever be Wolverine, and my God, has he proved everybody wrong along the way. Hugh Jackman is the definitive Wolverine movie. I would even say that this is the best X-Men movie that is out there in the universe right now. I didn't think that anything would ever pass Days of Future Past, and most of my beliefs became concrete when I saw X-Men Apocalypse. I was like, yeah, there's no way anybody could top this. But this movie, this Logan movie, definitely tops anything that was in Days of Future Past. Not that Days of Future Past is not a good movie, because that movie is amazing. It has a beautiful team dynamic, but as a character study and just being able to follow along with this family type vibe, Logan is definitely the movie. Hands down, best movie, best X-Men movie, and maybe even best comic book movie, because of the fact that it doesn't play like a comic book movie. There are no costumes at all in the movie. There's no world to save or city to save, nothing like that. It's all about a family and saving that family, right? Making sure that the next generation moves on. And that was something that really played heavily on me, was just being able to see mortality of Wolverine. Being able to see the mortality of Wolverine really weighed on me, because I remember when I watched the first movie, I was like 12, 13, 14 maybe, when the first movie came out. It came out on my birthday, which was awesome. So I've been along this ride for a very long time. So it was definitely an amazing sight to see a much older Wolverine and a much older Charles Xavier, who's definitely not all there, right? I mean, from the trailers you can kind of tell that he's in and out of who he is as a man, and that's kind of heartbreaking, you know, to see them go through what they go through, but it's definitely a beautiful story, a must-see for anybody. I mean, anybody who is an X-Men fan, anybody who's a comic book movie fan, even if you haven't liked what's been going on with the Wolverine, which me personally, I didn't really like X-Men Origins. I felt like it started off okay and then just got kind of off the rails. And then the Wolverine, where he goes to Japan, I felt like that was the same type of vibe. I felt like it was really good, and then just kind of went off the rails towards the end when he fights the big old giant Silver Samurai. It just wasn't what I wanted that movie to be. I wanted it to be more like what this movie is. And James Mangold actually came back from doing the Wolverine to do this movie. I think this ultimately is the movie that he wanted to make, whereas the Wolverine is something that the studios wanted him to make, and you can tell that there's a lot of influence from the studios pushing him to do a lot of things in that movie versus him having complete freedom with this movie. The R rating definitely helped them push along the ideas of what they actually wanted to do. And man, it was crazy good. I mean, I can't really say much more about it. The movie is amazing, like simply amazing. That's the best thing I can say. It hits every single note that I wanted in a Wolverine movie. It's absolutely wonderful. Logan's dynamic with X-23, being able to be a dad to this daughter, like you can tell, like he has no idea what he's doing, but he kind of just learns along the way, and that's what parenting is. You're just kind of, you don't know what you're doing, you're just kind of learning as you go, and you just make the most of it. And that, you can see that dynamic between Wolverine and X-23, and man, it is awesome, like really is awesome. As far as the villains go, Boyd Holbrook from Narcos, his big screen appearance is awesome. He does a really good job as the bad guy. Like he's one of those lovable bad guys. Like he's He's totally just a douche of a dude, I'll be honest with you. He has this charm about him, and the charm about him is kind of nice to see on screen. It's one of the reasons that he is such a good actor, not only on Narcos, but on this movie as well. Definitely does his job in bringing that villainry that a lot of the Marvel movies unfortunately don't have. So I'm glad that we were able to see a good villain. Now there's a much bigger boss in the movie as well, but like I said, I'm not going to give anything away on that just yet. On my score, as far as what I'm going to rate this movie, I'll be honest with you, I think it deserves a solid 10. It's not because of the fact that it's doing anything on grand spectacle scale or anything like that, but because it is a solid action movie with solid dramatic pieces throughout the movie just that keep the pacing going, and it feels fresh. Everything about this movie feels very fresh. There are some minor gripes, like they don't explain some things, but I don't need everything explained. I'm putting it together as we go along, and that's totally fine that they didn't explain everything. But this movie, I'm gonna give it a solid 10. It's definitely the best X-Men movie that's out there. I might even say that I like it more than the original Iron Man, and that's a really hard thing to do because the original Iron Man, that's magic right there. But this, James Mangold and Wolverine, with this movie, what they have done is created this whole subgenre, because it's not even a comic book movie in the sense of there's all these different colorful characters with all these different crazy costumes. No, this is just a real grounded story with these characters who are from a comic book universe living in this real world of 2029. And man, it definitely has a very heavy feel to it. And it's definitely something I would recommend anybody to go watch. So now I'm going to get into the spoilery bit, alright? So if you haven't seen the movie, go ahead and push pause here, and then come back and check it out. So let's get into the spoilers. So spoiler-wise, man, this movie was insane. The best part of the movie to me was when the young Wolverine, X-24, came out, which is basically Wolverine's complete clone, but way younger. He comes out, and him and Wolverine are just jacking each other up. That fight scene was incredible. My jaw was open the entire time, just dropped like, oh my god, this mug blew me away. Like, I had no idea what I was going to expect. I didn't expect to see any of that because none of that stuff was in the trailers, right? You don't ever see him fight himself, and the first time they meet, it's kind of trippy. It's like, whoa. Like, he doesn't really believe that it's real. Like, he doesn't understand what's going on. And then the way that X-24 is introduced, major spoilers if you're still watching, push pause, but major spoilers, he freaking kills Xavier. Like, in the worst way. Like, puts his hand up to Xavier's chest and just takes him out. I was like, oh my god. I was literally almost in tears because of what's happened so far in the movie. I was just like, oh my god, I couldn't believe that this was happening. And to see him die in such a vicious, vicious way. The same Charles Xavier from First Class, throughout all the X-Men, through Days of Future Past, throughout everything. This is the same Professor X. And to get freaking murdered like that, oh my god, it was crazy. But it was so good, and the payoff, man, the payoff was definitely there. To be able to see, like I said, old man Logan versus young X-24, to see them go at it. And they go at it again later on in the movie, but it's definitely a beautiful, beautiful moment. My only negative about the movie was the big boss. He didn't really seem that big or that scary. Like, to be honest with you, I'd never really heard of him myself. I thought it was going to be like Mr. Sinister, or I just thought it was going to be Boyd Holbrook's character from the Reavers. I thought he was just going to be over it. You know, he was looking for X-23 and probably going to do whatever he wanted to do with it. But he was working for somebody, and you know what? It works okay. Definitely works pretty good. I'm still giving the movie a solid 10, so I'm not knocking it for that. But man, it was definitely super dope, and I loved how the kids in the X-23 group, all of those, genetically made mutants, all of their powers are super cool. It's definitely something that I wish we could see in all the other X-Men movies, but unfortunately, those movies are owned by Fox, and Fox wants to make as much money as possible. But I can tell you, after watching something like this, I truly believe, especially with the success of Deadpool, and now I can promise you the success of Logan, we are definitely going to see a lot more rated R superhero movies, which, to be honest with you, it's about time. I really do believe that there are some there's a lot of darkness in these comic book stories, not for the sake of just being gory or flashing a bunch of blood, but because of the ferocity of some of these characters. Like Wolverine, he is a freaking beast, and you can see it, like him going beast mode. After I got out of this movie, I never wanted to work out so hard in my life. Like the dude is just killing it the entire movie. He is just super jacked the entire movie, and whenever he's going into his berserker mode and he's just raging out, I'm like, oh my god, yes. Like, I enjoyed every single moment of it. Wolverine is going in on this dude. He's chopping off dudes' heads, chopping off dudes' limbs, just running through the forest, just gunning it. And man, the rated R, it works so well. I'm so happy that I saw this movie. Like I said, I'm going to give it a hardcore 10, solid 10. There are some little things here and there that I didn't really care for, or I felt like could have been explained a little bit better, but ultimately the movie is a must watch. I definitely can't wait to buy this. And the cool thing is this movie, unlike the Disney movies, will actually come out on 4K Blu-ray, so I'm super excited about that. Yes, I still support physical media, and I'm okay with that. I am a man of the old and future, so there you go. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I just wanted to put something out there because I know there's a lot of other reviews already circulating around, but just wanted to get in my 2 cents. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, drop a like. If you want to subscribe, subscribe. Anyway, pass it out to your friends. My name is Chris Vargas, and I'm out. Peace.